Marie Booth, and I write sexy gay paranormal romance and sexy contemporary romance. And I have a true story to tell you. Whether you believe me or not is up to you. Scream has asked for campfire stories. I don't really have a campfire story, but I do have a spooky story of something that happened to me. I worked community theater jobs, and I've always thought that ghosts were attracted to special theatrical kinds of productions, that they liked the entertainment. And I worked at Snug Harbor Cultural Center on Staten Island for a number of years. Right now I live in California, but I raised my kids in New York City, so that's how I came to be on Staten Island. And it's a beautiful setting. It was originally built as a retirement home and care health center for retired seamen. And so you'd have sea captains there and crews and people who didn't have other places to go. And it was in existence for quite a while, since the 1800s. Now, there's a theater there. It's the Music Hall. It seats about 700 people, and I would say it has a balcony, and it's sort of Art Deco, I would describe it as, but the inside is sort of Art Deco, but the outside has like the columns like you'd see in Greek architecture. It's a very cool building. It has very bad wing space. If you've ever done theater, you know how important wing space is. And I was working as a costume designer at the time. And because I had a day job, I could only be there late at night. And there were security guards on the property. And I had to tell them that I would be there. And everything was locked. The whole area, all of Snug Harbor was locked. There are gardens and cafes and museums and all kinds, a children's museum that's really cool, all kinds of great things at Snug Harbor, but I'm talking about something that happened in the music hall. So if anyone knows what it is to be a costume designer without a staff, you know it can get kind of crazy. So I had to roll my costumes on a rolling rack, get them out of the car, get them on the rack, roll them to the theater, and the security guard would let me into the theater. And then the doors would lock behind me. Of course, I had a flashlight just in case the lighting went out. The lighting was only in the stage area, and I guess the first 5 rows of the theater were also lit up. The back of the orchestra was dark, and the balcony was dark. Now, I sort of had a habit of going around to all the doors downstairs and making sure everything was indeed locked. I felt like there had been a couple of instances of a couple of homeless people coming in at other times and then spending the night there. And so I just sort of went around and checked. I checked upstairs too. I just kind of checked. Or else sometimes I would have the security guard go around and check for me. But I always felt better when I checked for myself. So no one was there. No windows were open. I was alone. So I had a lot of work to do. I had a list of things to do. I had to get all the costumes up on the stage and the rack and then put them back on the rack. Make sure everything was tagged correctly. So I'm on the stage and I hum. When I'm by myself, I tend to hum or sing stupid songs that I make up. Or talk to myself. I'm rather entertaining when I'm on my own, I have to admit. So I'm doing my work and making some kind of noise. And I look up at the balcony, and the air has gotten much colder, I realize. It's gotten much colder. And there's nothing in the balcony, but I had a feeling there was something in the balcony, but I don't see anything. I put a jacket on, and I keep working. And it's still cold. And why would it be cold? It was March, but it wasn't going to be a particularly chilly night. The heat was not on in the building, but still, it shouldn't have been drafty. It felt drafty to me. So I looked again all around, looked up to the balcony, and a woman was standing at the very center of the back of the balcony. Now, it was a female form. I can't say for sure it was a woman, but it was a female form, wearing a long dress that would have been appropriate for maybe 1915 or early 1900s, I would say. It looked like a woman's dress who would have been, let's say, a nanny, a governess, a nanny, maybe even a housekeeper on her away on a night out, okay, but not anything fancy for that kind of period. A plain. It seemed to have a print, but it was dark and I couldn't really see. So I talked to her. I said, "Excuse me, the building's closed." I thought maybe they did have a Dickens festival there for a while. I thought maybe someone thought they were having an audition. I didn't know why they might be there, but there they were, and she was definitely there. And I talked to her, and she didn't answer me. And I thought about calling the security guards, but then I noticed her walking, and she walked and sat in a specific seat in the back row of the balcony. And she didn't talk to me, but I didn't feel any malevolence coming from her either. I didn't feel anything angry about her. I'm thinking, well, someone told me there was a ghost in Snug Harbor, and maybe this is that one. I don't know. Someone told me that once they got locked in the bathrooms there, they couldn't get out and they couldn't get out, and nobody had locked them in, and suddenly it opened. It was actually locked, but then suddenly, click, it opened, but they opened the door, and no one was there. So what was up with that? So I'm seeing her up there, and I'm working my ass off to get all my work done because I want to get out of the building. And I quickly leave, get my coat on. I sort of look at her. She looks at me. I leave. And then the door locks behind me. And I go to the security guard, and I say, "Look, someone was in that theater with me. They were in the balcony." And the security guard says, "Were they wearing a long dress?" "Yeah." "Where'd they sit?" I told them what seat. "Oh yeah, that's our ghost." Oh, thank you for that information. I have to be here again the next night. Do you think you could hang out here with me tomorrow night? He says, "Well, I can't really do that, but I'll check in on you often." The next night, I was working on the theater, same thing. He says, "Don't worry." He said, "Don't worry. She's not going to do anything. She's just going to watch. She likes to watch." And I worked again, and she came, and she watched. And then I left, and I nodded. She did not nod at me. She didn't move. She only stood at the beginning, stood at the front, at the back of the balcony, and then walked over to her seat and sat. The second night, did the same exact thing. So I think I might have seen a ghost. And you could tell me I'm crazy. You could say maybe the security guards worked it all out, as a big joke, because they knew me for several years. Maybe it was some big joke. But I'm telling you, that place was locked. And the only doors you could really actually get into with a key, because the other doors were all chain locked with a padlock, were the two doors right next to the stage where I was working. So if someone, and made noise, and if someone came in there, I would have heard them. So I don't think it was a joke. I think it was a ghost. But you can make up your own mind. This is Marie Booth, paranormal romance author, and I'd like to welcome you all to Scream. Thank you very much.